This is Akashvani. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on significance of new national education policy and its various aspects. The participants are Ashok Tandon, political analyst, and Diksha Saxena, Akashvani correspondent.
The new National Education Policy NEP was launched on 29 July 2020. Today, the policy completes 3 years, and to mark the occasion, Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated Akhil Bharatiya Shiksha Samagam in New Delhi. The Samagam is a summit of education in which educationists, teachers and students are participating from across the country, and it will go on till tomorrow. To discuss more on new national education policy and its various aspects, we have Ashok Tandon with us. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
One of the major highlights of the new national education policy is the change in the basic pedagogical structure. Instead of 10 plus 2, it is now 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, covering the age group of 3 to 18 years. In your opinion, how would it help in the overall personality development of an individual, and also how will it benefit the society?
First of all, we need to understand why this new education policy was launched in 2020. See, the idea was to groom the youth and prepare them for leading the country in Amrit Kaal. And the aim was to prepare them for meeting the challenges of the future while keeping them grounded in basic human values. That is the basic strength of the Indian culture. During the last 3 years of its implementation, the policy has already brought about a radical transformation in the realms of school, higher and skill education. But now this two-day program is basically to provide a forum for academics, sector experts, policy makers, industry representatives who run many schools and universities, teachers and students from schools, higher education and skilling institutions, among others, to share their insights, success stories and best practices in implementing the new education policy and work out strategies for taking it further ahead. That was the underlying idea of organizing this two-day summit. Now, this brainstorming two-day session will have 16 separate sessions, and there will be discussions on themes including access to quality education and governance, equitable and inclusive education, issues of socio-economically disadvantaged groups, National Institute ranking framework, Indian knowledge system, internationalization of education, among others. Here, I would like to emphasize two things. Because of some quarters criticizing this policy continuously with vested interest, the emphasis on equitable and inclusive education, issues of socio-economically disadvantaged groups, these are the underlying parameters of the new policy. Prime Minister, in his speech, in fact, made it very clear that education today is the hallmark and the basic framework for all-round progress and development of the country. If I may add, Prime Minister said that primacy of education among the factors that we can change the destiny of the nation. These are the parameters. So our education system, therefore, has a huge role in achieving the goals with which 21st century India is moving. And then he emphasized on the importance of this particular Samagam, which he said will discuss and have dialogue with among themselves how important the education is. So therefore, it's coinciding with this particular inaugural event. The Prime Minister also released the first installment of the money which has been distributed under the PM Shri scheme.
Sir, you are very rightly touched upon various points. So coming back to one of the major highlight of Prime Minister's speech, and also it is one of the major point in the new national education policy, teaching students in their regional language. The Prime Minister very categorically said that vernacular language will enable students to gain confidence and they will not be left out if they do not know English. How do you think this is going to improve the overall outlook of the education system in our country, and how will it improve the society as a whole?
Prime Minister also made it very clear that initially at the age of 3, beginning uniformity in the entire country, the initial education will be in the mother tongue. And that is why the new scheme of 5+3+4, this system has been put in place. Then the national curriculum framework under the NEP will come very soon, and the framework for 3 to 8-year-old students is already ready. The entire country will have a uniform syllabus, and NCERT is preparing new course books in this direction. New books of about 130 various subjects are coming up for class 3 to 12 in 22 different languages as a result of the education being imparted in all Indian regional languages. So there is no question of discrimination against any language or doing any kind of injustice to any particular language or not giving adequate respect to any particular Indian language. That was the message.
I would also like to highlight that the Prime Minister said education in vernacular language is an important step towards the social justice.
And I would like to make a point. The Prime Minister made it very clear, and that the biggest injustice which has been done to students is when we judge them based on their language instead of their capabilities. So education in the mother tongue is initiating a new form of justice for the students in India. Is also a very significant step towards social justice. Mark these words, is a significant step towards social justice. That means the downtrodden, deprived section, underprivileged section of the society, they have not got the benefit of the education system earlier. Now the new system, because the education will be in their own mother tongue, it will help them to put their children and also make them some kind of leader in every respect, because they will now get opportunities at par with the other classes of the society. See, the most countries in the world, they use their own native languages. Even though India has an established languages, but they have so far, unfortunately, been presented as a sign of backwardness. And those who could not speak English were neglected, and their talents were not recognized. So as a result, what happened was, that the children of the rural areas remained most affected. The country now has begun to shun this belief with the advent of the national education policy. Even at the UN, the Prime Minister himself said, I speak in Indian language, and people feel proud that the Indian Prime Minister is speaking in his own language. So therefore, the question of social sciences to engineering now will be taught in Indian languages. That is the hallmark of the new education policy. See, when the students are confident in a language, their skills and talent will emerge without any restriction or hindrance. The Prime Minister also pointed out that those who try to politicize language for their own selfish interest will now have to shut their shops, because the national education policy will now give due respect and credit to every language in the country. I think that was the underlying message of the Prime Minister's speech today.
Today, the Prime Minister also released the first installment of 630 crore rupees under Pradhan Mantri Schools for Rising India, which is PM Shri scheme, for 6,707 schools. The scheme of PM Shri was approved last year by the Union Cabinet at a total cost of 2,760 crore rupees, and the scheme will be implemented in a period of 5 years up till 2027. Can you please elaborate what is PM Shri scheme and how is it going to benefit students and prepare them for the future along with the modern skills?
This program itself, it has helped the schools to nurture students in a particular way that they become engaged, productive and contributing citizens for building an equitable, inclusive and plural society as envisaged by our educational policy. Basically, for the skill curriculum books, etc. So this scheme particularly is to benefit students from the deprived section or underprivileged section, because the emphasis in the policy, as the Prime Minister himself has been repeatedly saying, is to engage, and this will engage them and make them productive. And this is basically for building an equitable, inclusive and plural society. So this is a message which I want to repeat again and again for the benefit of those who have been criticizing this policy as lopsided, one-sided, benefiting only a section of the society. PM Shri Yojana is basically to uplift and emancipate the people who are below the poverty line, the sections which are deprived and underprivileged. That is the idea behind this scheme.
Very rightly said, sir. Prime Minister also emphasized and highlighted that the world is now looking at India for new possibilities. Adding on to this, the Prime Minister said that along with Zanzibar and Abu Dhabi, many other countries are now urging India to open their IIT campus in their respective countries. How do you view this shift and change from the perspective of the world towards India? Please also highlight the foreign universities which are about to open their campus in India. How is this big shift in our education system going to benefit the society and the upcoming generation?
The Prime Minister also mentioned that the world today is looking at India as a nursery of new possibilities. And then he gave the example of the software technology and space technology and said it is easy to compete with India's capability. Therefore, in defense technology and in so many other specialized technology, India's model of low cost and best quality system is sure to become a hit. And he emphasized the respect for India's education system has significantly increased in the world with the increase in India's industrial reputation and startup growth ecosystem. And as you were rightly mentioning, that the members of Indian institutes, the number of Indian institutes is now increasing in all the globe ranking and uniform. About at least 2 IIT campuses opening up in Zanzibar and Abu Dhabi gave the. But many other countries are also urging India to open IIT campuses in their own country. And if I may say so, what I learned from reports from across the border, the younger generation, boys and girls in Pakistan, they are crying, why can't they go to Indian IITs and IIMs for higher studies? Because Pakistan, they don't have proper education system. So India's education system is becoming a role model perhaps in all the developing countries. And Prime Minister said that many global universities are also willing to open their campuses in India due to the positive changes coming in the education ecosystem. He said 2 Australian universities are about to open their campuses in Gujarat, JIFT city. And his strengthening educational institution is continuously going on, and we are working toward making them future ready. He said the need to make India's institutes, universities, schools and colleges at the center of this particular revolution, the education revolution which is taking place in India. Now India has to become the center point of the epicenter of the global and modern education.
Sir, moving on, I would really want your thoughts on one more very important aspect of Prime Minister's speech today. He very categorically emphasized that a new energetic generation has to be created in the next 25 years, which is free from mentality of slavery and eager for innovation. And as we see, the new national education policy also aims at preparing students for meeting challenges of future while keeping them grounded in the basic human values. How important is this for nation building, also for the development of the personality of an individual?
See, Prime Minister also mentioned about this, and he said building capable youth is the biggest guarantee of building a strong nation. And therefore, parents and teachers also play a very, very important role. And in that context, he appealed to teachers and parents to prepare students for confident curiosity and flight of imagination. Said we have to keep an eye on the future and think with a futuristic mindset, and we have to free our children from the pressure of books. That was very significant remark which the Prime Minister said. And also he said, when we are talking about the responsibility, that is why it is growing global curiosity in a strong India, it reminds us about the yoga, Ayurveda, art and literature. Reminded the teachers about the importance of the current generation of students in India's journey to a Vikasit Bharat in 2047. That was the underlying message.
The new national education policy in last 3 years has made significant changes in not just the textbook but also the overall thinking of students and teachers towards the education system of India.
Whatever the policy underlines, it is for the benefit of all sections of the society, and it is to working or contributing towards building an equitable, inclusive and plural society.
With this thought, we conclude this discussion. Thank you so much, Mr. Tandon.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on significance of new national education policy and its various aspects. The participants were Ashok Tandon, political analyst, and Diksha Saxena, Akashvani correspondent. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsttalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 92890 94044.